Live from the PeopleForward Network podcast studio at CultureCon in Madison, Wisconsin, this Fringe episode was created to help you grow your perspective around culture and meaningful work. CultureCon believes that every individual, regardless of role, has the power to make work more meaningful for themselves and their organization. Now, here's some inspiration straight from the amazing leaders and workplaces within the CultureCon community.
Greta Jackson.
Yes.
It is so good to be with you at CultureCon in the PeopleForward Network studio.
Yes, I'm so excited to be here. Amazing time so far. I've really enjoyed it.
I'm so glad. Was this your first time?
It's my second time. I
Okay.
saw you last year.
Oh,
It was so good.
fun. Good. Well, I got to see you this year.
Yes.
That was so much fun. So I just want to kind of jump into it. One, I would love for you to talk about your topic and share maybe the why behind your topic with you.
Yeah. So my topic was harmonizing the remote workplace, remote engagement strategies. So I have a passion for that. That's how I got into this space, is my passion for it. So I'm a former educator. So connecting with people is something that I feel like that's my talent or gift that I've been given. So reaching out to parents, reaching out to kids. And when the pandemic hit, it was like I left education at that point, and now everybody's working from home. And I was like, how will I get that fix, right, from connecting with people? And I applied and took this role. And so it was a totally new challenge because I don't see everybody every day. And walking up the hallway is my interstate, So I started asking questions like, what would you like to see? How would you like to connect with others? Why is it important for you to connect? What do you miss about being in an office? And a lot of it was, I don't get to stand up at my cubicle and have a conversation with people anymore. So how do we do that? And so then I started thinking of ways to do that. And so this presentation gives all those strategies and how to build that plan to do that, because I say hope is not a plan. So I can't hope this will work. I have to plan for this to work. And so working on those engagement strategies and connecting with people through interest groups and affinity groups, which is our version of ERGs, was a great way, or a great avenue to rebuild those connections that we have somehow lost during the pandemic.
Yeah. And I was thinking, first of all, that room was packed.
I was shocked by that. I was like, what?
You had so many people clued in for this very reason. I feel like the question you hear over and over again is the reality that the workforce has indeed changed.
Yes.
How we show up to work has changed.
Yes.
And we're all like, I don't even know how to do it.
Right.
And so I think what is so valuable about your presentation was that, okay, we can do it. And not only can we do it, we can have a strategic plan around it.
Yes.
And the amount of creativity that you offered the group today was unbelievable. And so even as I look in your agenda, I love that you said it again. You said, hope is not a plan. Hope is a beautiful thing to have, but it's not a plan.
Yes.
And you talked about having a culture and climate plan.
Yes.
And so will you tell us a little bit more about that?
So a culture and climate plan is really focusing on what are those strategies and what values do those connect to in our organization that would help improve the culture, come up with our culture, create our culture. And the climate, a lot of people are like, climate? I'm like, no, not talking about the climate outside, although that's important. But what's the temperature in our organization? We have a lot of stuff going on outside of the world, and how people show up, that climate shifts all the time. And so being able to know, how can I move to a more positive climate, a more inclusive climate where people feel connected and can show up to work as they are and be seen, valued, and heard, is all a part of that plan. And that plan, I always say, it's a living document. So it's not going to be like, this is what we're going to do, and we're going to stick to it by this timeline. People are people. And so we have to be flexible and so do our plans.
Yeah, I love that. First of all, I also want to say that you also challenged us in the room. So we were not spectators at all.
Oh, no.
We were absolutely engaged, which I loved. And you talked a lot about engagement strategies. Share a little bit more about that with the audience.
So engagement strategies, a lot of people think, oh, it has to be something big and it has to cost a lot of money, but it actually doesn't. It's a simple way to start a conversation. Sometimes I'm the conversation starter. So in a Teams channel, I pose a question and the conversation takes off from there. I'm just a little catalyst to kind of get it started. Or maybe I'll issue a challenge. So like in our photography group, they're doing photography bingo right now. And so they have a bingo card and they have to post the pictures they take. And it's just been amazing. And they post a picture every week until someone gets bingo. And so I just posted the bingo card and it took off from there. And people love that they could show all these different types of pictures. They have an equal entry point. I'm not saying you have to start here and you have to end here, but it's wherever you pick to choose to start. And so engagement strategies are just that. We want to have an equal entry point for every person that shows up in your organization to be able to participate however they like to participate, and connect it to our values, because that's the most important thing. That's how we show up, is through our values every day at work.
Yeah, I love photography bingo. That sounds so cool. And before I move on to the third point you made in the conversation today, I want to dig a little bit deeper into this conversation about the Teams channels.
Yes.
And I want to say this because I've been at a company where we've tried to use the Teams channels and we sucked. I'll just say that. So I was so impressed by how you've leaned into that technology. So can you just give us a little bit of an overview of how you are using those channels to create engagement in your organization?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have 35 interest groups.
35.
And they range from all sorts of topics. So each group is under the interest group channel. So we have a big channel with all these individual teams underneath. And so anybody can post in them. People opt in. So we have a document that shows everybody, how do you get in to the Teams channel? How do you find it? We do an orientation. And then people can just see the questions, because you can do the @ symbol and tag that particular group. So it only for those people in that group, not for every group that's out there. We also use Teams also for our affinity groups. So each affinity group has their own Teams channel, and they have a separate channel for the leaders so that we can have conversations maybe while a meeting is happening. Maybe we need to talk about this topic instead, or I'm going to change the question, or who's taking attendance. But they also post in there after the affinity group meeting, which are employee resource groups. So that's how we use the Teams channel. Like, everybody has to opt in. We don't force anybody in. We want people to genuinely want to be there. And I will say, when we started, we didn't have very much engagement. But now, since we've been doing these curated questions for the groups to keep the conversation going, we've seen a 150% increase in participation in those groups. And it just makes a huge difference, because we don't get together. We're in all 50 states. We're in Canada. We're in the UK. So people are spread all over. And no matter what time zone you work in, you can always participate.
Yeah, there's an entry wherever you are.
Yes,
I love
wherever
that.
you are.
I love that. And okay, so you had a lot of interesting topics that you were sharing. So you just mentioned photography bingo also earlier, but you also told us about one called Fun Fact Fridays. Can you tell us about that?
Yes. So Fun Fact Friday is for our entire organization. And so it's a channel unto itself. And every Friday around 9:30ish in the morning Eastern time, I post a question in there. And sometimes it is mainly around food, because everybody loves food. So it all got started. I posted a post about Thanksgiving dinner. One has to go. And I put in there that I don't like cranberry sauce. And you would have thought that I was like committing some offense. And that just took off from there. And then my CEO chimed in, and it just became this whole thing of, let's talk about Thanksgiving food. So every Friday after that, I would post in there. We've done Scrabble remotely. And you're like, how do you play Scrabble remotely? But I put the tiles in a graphic and make as many words as you can out of that. But you can't go twice in a row. Someone has to go between you. You can't repeat words. And that turned into this competition of who could make the biggest word of all the tiles. And so it was like, wow, and people were like, I love the word game. And I was like, wow, I didn't know that would be so popular. We've done things about the zombie apocalypse and what band would you like to tour with for a week. So it's just a quick, engaging question that everybody looks forward to, because now I can post the question, but I can't put my comment in fast enough of what I would do. People are already chiming in before I get to the comments. So we really love it.
I do love that. And, we were all chatting about this in the back of the room. And the one thing my neighbor said to me, she was like, it's just a reminder that we can have fun.
Yes.
It sounds so simple. And you're not talking about a lot of time.
No, it's a
either.
2-minute, if 2 minutes. I mean, literally it takes me 2 minutes to post, and you can just pop in and put your answer in. And to hear people respond to one another. Last week, we did a post about what's one thing that you love to eat that other people don't like. And so this whole conversation about liver mush erupted in that chat. Like, it was back and forth, back and forth. And I saw a friendship get crafted between two people, someone that lives in North Carolina, someone that lives across the country, and now they're just best friends over liver mush. And they were like, I think we might need to take our conversation offline. I was like, if you'd like, but just to know that people connect in that way is amazing. Like, I've seen people form friendships. Somebody even took someone a hot dog because they're like, I'm going to the fair and I live close to you, I think. And so just friendships that have just formed naturally that you normally don't see in a remote setting has happened over a simple question about what do you like to eat? What do you dislike to eat? I think fun, sometimes we think in a remote setting, we have to be about work, which is fun is work, right? That's part of the workday. We would do it if we were in person. We'd laugh walking to the cafeteria. We'd laugh going to the bathroom. We'd laugh with our cubicle mates. So why can't we do that same thing remotely?
Yeah, I love that. And, I was thinking about a theme that we've been hearing is, about ROI. And so I'm just curious if you had to respond to a question about ROI. You did give us a data point already, but just say more about what you would say the return on investment has been for the company.
So sometimes I think we learned earlier today that return on investment is not always something that's a data point. It can be a hug. Is that not a return on investment? So it's the same thing. That friendship is a return on an investment there. Those two people are now bonded over something. The fact that someone drove a hot dog to someone because they couldn't go and get it, like, that's a return on investment. The fact that people now have inside jokes when they show up at meetings, or like, oh my gosh, I saw you the other day on Teams. You're not going to get to say hey or whatever. Or just they chime in, or people have told me, I just check on so-and-so now. I really connected with them. Those are all return on investments that may not be a data point, but to hear those stories and to capture that is the data point for me.
And you started off your presentation about some Gallup poll data around engagement.
Yes.
So let's put that in conversation about ROI.
Yes. So to know that, like 32% of the people are engaged, and then 16% say they're not engaged at all. And then we have to figure out, what are we going to do about the folks how do we retain folks? Like, we have to do these engagement fun strategies. That's what people look for, is they want to know that when I go to work, I spend so much time at work. Is it fun? Am I going to have a good time? And then we reap the benefits as an organization because those folks are retained and they stay with the organization. And then we start to build a legacy of that we can do both. We can have work and we can have fun. And there's a balance here that we can achieve, but it takes all of us. It's not just one person.
Yeah. And it's such a beautiful both and adding in the remote piece.
Yes.
Because to your point, we're still trying to adjust to how can we even have relationships with our colleagues across screens. Yes. And so making it fun and getting people connected. And it also speaks to the other data point we've been talking about here is about people having work besties.
Yes. Yes. The work bestie piece is so critical because that's one of the things I missed when I left education into going to the remote workforce. Like, I miss my work bestie who is still a teacher. She was my best friend as a teacher. And so it's like, I don't get to see her every day, but now I have a new work bestie that I see through a screen. And it's just so funny because we have coffee chats still every week. And sometimes her dog shows up and my dog wants to get up there and I see her kids. And so it's just really exciting to have that connection still, and that we don't have to be in an office setting to do it. We just need the communication tool to continue that conversation.
I love that. The last thing you talked about in terms of your agenda was implementation and adaptation.
Yes.
So share a little bit about that.
So once you implement the plan, the adaptation is the flexibility piece. It's never going to be the same from day to day. And that culture and climate plan is the living, document. And what I mean by that is things are happening outside in the world. Things may happen in your organization where we all have to push towards something. And it may not be the exact time to implement something or to post a question. Maybe we need to check on a particular group because there's been a weather event. So you have to be flexible in how you engage people. People want to know that you care, and that is genuinely what it is. And if you care for someone, we don't care for someone all in the same way. We care for each other in different ways, and we support each other in different ways. And that's the same thing with the plan and being, adaptable. And so you have to be flexible. You have to know, oh, this didn't work. I had hoped it would work, but it wasn't it fell flat. And so maybe I don't do that type of post again. Maybe I do something else. Or if I have to go to a team and speak to them and I feel like they're not really engaged, I need to say, let's just take a pause for a second. How's everybody doing? Where do we stand? What color are we? Are we red because we're really struggling? Are we green because everything's going great and I'm just really swamped right now? I don't have time to engage. And if that's the case, then I need to be flexible and change, because an organization is both sides. It's the fun and the work, so they can coexist at the same time.
Yeah, I love that. So you challenged us.
Yes.
You challenged us to think about what are we going to do?
Yes.
And so if there was one thing you wanted to share to all the people who are going to be listening to this podcast, what might that challenge be to them in terms of being able to be a part of improving employee engagement, specifically in remote situations?
I would say start where you are. Don't try to build something too quickly. It's baby steps. And make sure you allow enough room for that to grow. And don't stifle it by making it confined into this little bitty space. Let it be natural and organic, and the data will tell you where to go. So that's what I would say.
Awesome. And I think you said one other thing that I'll just add, because
Okay.
I think it's also important, is consistency.
Yes, that is key. You have to do it. I'm down to the time. So I post at a particular time on every Friday because I know that's the sweet spot. I post twice a week in interest groups because I know that that's a good pace for our organization. So the consistency piece, which everybody struggles with, right? I mean, we wouldn't be human if we didn't struggle with consistency. So just to build that in as director of employee engagement is what I do. Just like I put on my calendar. So I hold myself accountable. It's a standing appointment. You have to post Fun Fact Friday. Here's the time. You have to post in interest groups. Here are the posts. And here's the time. And it's in my calendar. So no one can interrupt that time. So I stay consistent.
I love it. I love it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I think you just literally liberated a lot of people who are thinking that, how are we going to improve engagement in a remote?
Yes.
Because they're still fighting, trying to, that this reality isn't here. And so I think you gave a lot of people a lot of energy today to
That's
be able to
exciting.
keep trying new
Yes.
things.
Just
And you
keep
gave
trying.
us so many examples. So
Great.
thank you so
I'm
much
so
for all that
glad.
you're doing.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, awesome.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you.